Everyone needs to get ready because this is going to be a nasty one. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphanine. Please subscribe if you enjoy the content. We're going to start here with an article from NASDAQ.com. And it's titled, Grant Cardone says everyone in America should plan for a nasty recession. Wait a minute, Grant, wait a minute. Now, I've been saying for almost 2 years, we're going into a depression and it's been building there. And now we're pretty much there. It's a light version of a depression, but depression nonetheless. What is a nasty recession other than a depression? But let's read this little tidbit here and see what Mr. Grant is talking about. It says, while economists have been going back and forth about whether or not we will see a recession or already in one, we're in a depression, but that's just my humble opinion. Grant Cardone, author of the, quote, the 10X rule, unquote, believes that we are on the cusp of an economic downturn. You don't say. Let's scroll down here. It says, quote, everyone in America should plan for a major, serious, nasty, long recession. That's a depression. I need to break it to folks. That's a depression. I know it's scary. That's a depression. You just have to take precautionary measures, right? Preparatory steps. It says, unquote, he told GoBankingRates.com. It says, quote, you can see signs of this everywhere. Mr. Cardone sounds like me. I'm telling you, I've been saying this. You can see signs of this everywhere. Credit card debt. We just talked about credit card debt in one of those prior videos, right? Credit card debt is at new heights. I've been telling you, haven't it? Credit card debt is at an all-time high. People are living off of credit. It's an illusion. So when you hear these officials come out and say, well, discretionary spending is up and, spending is up and consumer spending is up. That's how they've been phrasing it. My apologies. Consumer spending is up. It's like, wait a minute, but they're not using their bank accounts, their savings accounts, which have been run dry. They're using credit cards. That's not good. It says credit card debt is at new heights. Automotive payments are hitting historical heights. Used car pricing is coming down. Real estate mortgages are at 22-year lows. It says people are starting to be late on their rent. You see where this is going? Not to mention all the commercial real estate. Another thing I've been warning people about, they're underestimating commercial real estate and how it's going to bring down a lot of banks, which is going to make a lot of people a lot of capital. When those banks go down, the people will run to gold and make a lot of people like myself a ton of money. They're going to run to gold. They're going to run to silver like they did last time. And it's going to skyrocket that price. That's what I see happening. Not financial advice. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor, just my humble opinion based on what has happened before. That's all. But commercial real estate is becoming a bigger problem. And then we read an article where they were questioning why more individuals in commercial real estate weren't converting the commercial real estate into apartments. Who would afford those apartments? The apartment prices people are complaining about right now. So they don't have money to buy apartments right now. More people now than ever are living together. Little Susie and little Davy that went out there into the world, went to college and all that kind of stuff. They had to move back in with mom and dad. Grandma had to move in. All right. So who's going to buy those apartments? So that's why they're not doing that, which means that the problem has not been resolved, which means that those banks are still in jeopardy. It says here, commercial real estate, some of the biggest institutions in the world are walking away from, unquote. Cardone, who will be hosting 10X Your Business Summit September 15-17, said, given the inevitability of a recession, everyone should, quote, plan for the hurricane, unquote. This is not the first pro to say this, So then he gives some solutions here and improve your job skills, or they're making it harder. I mean, as far as hiring, and there's so much going on. It says recessions typically mean layoffs. Let's throw a caveat in there, a variable in there. Number one, as the Fed continues to raise interest rates, it's necessary that people are going to lose their jobs. They all know that. Jerome Powell came out and told these people, he said, wait a minute, more people may have to lose their jobs, which was a bold thing to say. I give him credit for that. He has a lot of guts for saying that. But it was the truth. It was the honest truth. And I know there's some people that are still calling for a pause in rates, but I just don't see, even if they paused it once, they would have to go back to it again like they did before. They must continue because if they take their foot off the gas, inflation is going to go up again. That's what happened before. It's what's going to happen once again. So I think they're going to continue longer, but we'll see how that plays out. It says, quote, "You need to get great at whatever you're doing now," unquote. Cardone said, quote, "You need to get great because other people will be let go. Don't resent it. Don't hate it. Don't ask for a pay raise right now." Well, they're making cuts in some. I saw that they're making cuts. Did you see that? They're cutting people's pay right now. You see, all of that time when they were raising the wage and they were praising all these companies, oh, they're raising the wage. And I always said to myself, I said, wait a minute, how long will this go for? Because as these companies start to, well, first of all, they're feasting on certain companies are feasting on profit, but they don't want to lose that. And they see that it's getting harder and harder to make a sell for a lot of these different companies. I'm leaving out names right now, but so they're now, anyone that they're hiring now is going to be paid less. You can look up these articles easily. They're going to be paid less. A lot of these companies are going to be paying people less. How does that affect that wage, the rising wage, theory? It says, get rid of anything that's causing you to have debt. Quote, get rid of anything that you have a liability on that you can get rid of and recycle right now, unquote, Cardone said. Quote, if it's a liability and you can get rid of it, unquote. This is sort of what I was saying also. It's like, just people need to budget better. And a lot of the nonsensical spending, that's going to have to stop. It's not that they're going to want to stop it. They're going to have to stop it as things become more and more expensive, like food, for example, for a lot of the regular people of society. So now let's move on here. Now that we're pretty much having confirmation of a depression, because that's what a nasty recession it really is, to be quite honest. All right. So now we have more dollar attacking going on. This is from the Central Bank of Iran. It says here, the Central Bank of Iran intends to offer regional currencies to citizens traveling to neighbor countries instead of selling them US dollars. There's a lot of dollar dumping going on. What type of impact it will have, we'll have to wait and see and observe. But, as of right now, I think the biggest entity that could dollar dump, if they do and would have a great impact, will be Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the one to watch. But I mean, we have so many countries dollar dumping. I mean, at some point, you have to think that it's going to have a bit of an impact. Of course, they still now, out of necessity, have to deal in some dollars. But like I said, over time, it's something to watch just in case they get to the point where they don't require dollars at all, right? Because that is definitely a possibility. Then people will have to start adjusting a lot to protect their value and to maintain their way of living. So the title of this was Iran intends to replace dollar with local currencies for travelers. It says Iran this year provided Iraqi dinars instead of US dollars to hundreds of thousands of pilgrims who visited Iraq at the end of August and early September for Shiite religious ceremonies. Now it intends to use the same tactic for providing foreign currency to travelers visiting regional countries. The Iraqi dinars became available to cash-strapped Iranian government when the United States in June allowed Baghdad to repay the equivalent of $2.7 billion from accrued energy import debts. It was reported at that time that part of the funds will be for Iran to spend on Muslim pilgrimages from Saudi Arabia to Iraq. All right, so let's move on here. A little bit more news. So a little bit more attack on the dollar. Everybody's watching the dollar like a hawk. My word, this is a heck of a time to live through. I'll tell you that much right now. So this article is from businesstimes.com and it is titled China's Central Bank Scrutinizes Bulk Dollar Purchases. Of course, they're going to do this because yuan has been having a bit of trouble. Of course, globally, all of the economies are doing terrible as far as I'm concerned. But China has to stabilize the yuan somehow. So they're going to scrutinize how much is being purchased using the dollar. A lot of companies are going to prefer to use the dollar. So, but China, as a country that's coming up and wants to be the big dog on the block, so to speak, is going to say, wait a minute, hey, you're doing a little too much with dollars, do a little bit more with yuan. In an attempt to balance things out. What is yuan 7.5 to the dollar at this particular time? So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, but just the very possibility of restricting what can go on with the dollar is just another means of choking the dollar in a global a global climate where so many countries seem to be against the dollar. And I understand it, as the dollar has been weaponized through SWIFT and various systems. The dollar has been used as a weapon through sanctions and such. So I understand that. I get it. All right. So now let's move on here to this last article. We're going to close out with a little bit of mortgage news, of course. This one here is from wolfstreet.com. It's titled "Mortgage Rate Buydowns by Home Builders Are Now All the Rage to Prop Up Sales, Lowering Effective House Prices." It says here, home builders don't have the luxury of outwaiting the market or waiting for the Fed to slash rates or whatever. They must build and sell homes. That's their business, no matter what the conditions in the market. As the market is struggling with 7% plus 30-year fixed mortgage rates and sky-high prices, like I said before, who's going to buy all this stuff? After a ridiculous free money spike during the redacted, sales of existing homes have plunged about 25% from the same period in 2018 and 2019, and by about 32% from the same period in 2021. Because buyers have pulled back and the people with 3% mortgages have left the housing market altogether, not putting their homes on the market and not buying homes either, not even looking at homes. That plunge in sales might be okay with potential home sellers thinking that this too shall pass, but it's not okay with home builders. And they've been adjusting to this market by cutting prices, building at lower price points, buying down mortgage rates, and offering incentives such as free upgrades. The latter two, buying down mortgage rates and piling on incentives, don't show up in the prices of homes they sell. So the pricing data that we have from Census Bureau about sales of new single-family houses do not include the cost of mortgage rate buydowns and incentives. We're going to close out with this little piece here. All right. It says, with mortgage rate buydowns, the home builder subsidizes the mortgage payment. The duration of the buydown can be for a few years, which effectively turns it into a teaser rate that can cause problems when the rate jumps to normal. Or the pay rate buydown can be for the entire term of the mortgage. The big home builders have mortgage lender subsidiaries that originate the mortgage for their customers and then sell the mortgage to government-sponsored enterprises such as Fannie Mae, which will securitize the mortgages into MBS. We're going to stop there. Insanity is taking place all over. But, you give it to some of these companies. They're trying to survive. They have their ways, right? All right. So if you want to read the rest of that article, that is a tremendous article. Once again, it's on wolfstreet.com. They even have some nice charts on there for you. All right. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? Hey, once again, I'm going to ask if you could subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Let's get to 100 subscribers on this channel. Why not? Right. So till next time, let's get to the money.